Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome back to my vegetable garden. Yeah, I know there's still snow on here, but we're having a warm up this week and I can actually see some soil in some of the beds, so that's really encouraging. For my March 11th column, I wrote about gardening organically. This is something that is so important to me, and it's very possible to grow a garden successfully without using any chemicals. For one thing, chemicals should be avoided because they're just plain harmful to mess with. But the other thing is they throw off the balance in your garden. Let's say they target an insect that's bothering you. Well, maybe they're also killing off either beneficial insects that would be a predator of them or some other good insect to have in the garden. So I want to show you different ways you can grow organically. Let's take a look. I wanted to talk with you about my favorite tool for dealing with damaging insects organically, and that is floating row cover. Now I know I talked about this in my last column and in my last video, but I wanted to clarify more about how you use it and also using it as a physical barrier against certain types of insects. Now I'm sitting inside my hoop house. This is not the real world. This is not where I need to keep insects away from the plants growing in here. But the beds outside are covered with snow, so this is a perfect area to demonstrate it. As a little recap, floating row cover is a lightweight woven fabric that lets in air, sunlight, and moisture, and works as a physical barrier against damaging insects. I have this draped over some hoops that we made from old black plastic sprinkler pipe, which works really well. And if this were out in the real world, I certainly would be weighting down the sides and the ends with bricks or blocks or rocks or boards or something to keep this from blowing away in a windstorm. Now, the big thing you need to know is this is not for all types of crops. In my garden, the two types of crops that I need to protect are beet family crops, beets, spinach, and Swiss chard, and that is from the leaf miner, and cabbage family crops, things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, and so on, and that is from aphids and cabbage worms, which are very damaging. All of those crops are ones that do not need to be pollinated. If you were to cover a plant that needs to be blooming and pollinated, then you are keeping the pollinators away from the plants. So that's what I wanted to let you know about floating row cover. It is such a great tool. And the other thing I should mention is, even though this seems very lightweight, it holds up really well if you take good care of it. But even if I get a hole in it, I just take a clothespin and pinch it shut so that the insects still can't get in there. So this is an excellent tool for organic gardening. Another thing you can consider doing to keep damaging insects in check and drawing in lots of pollinators is to build an insect hotel. This is something my husband and I did a couple of years ago, and we love watching all the comings and goings of mason bees, which are awesome pollinators, and other types of insects. Different things that we get in here are ladybugs, wasps, spiders, beetles, and I know that might sound creepy to you, but all of these are beneficial to have in a garden. Now we are going to build another insect hotel this season, and I promise to shoot a video so you can see how it goes together. Remember that most songbirds eat all sorts of insects, and so make them welcome in your garden. We have done a lot of planting of native shrubs, small trees, taller trees, things that they can nest in and they can hide in when predators show up. We also put out bird baths. We even have a heated one during the winter time so that the water is always thawed out. So remember that they are going to eat all kinds of insects in your garden, and so they're a great ally to have. I cannot emphasize how important it is that you monitor your garden on a regular basis during the growing season. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can just do a quick cruise through your garden and maybe you'll spot something that's just starting up rather than a problem that's been going on for a while and then you don't know how to deal with it. And do you know what insect you're dealing with? If you can't identify it, consider contacting your local Master Gardener program because they will identify it for you for free, which is a great price. You know, there are a lot of insects out there that look kind of scary, but they're actually beneficial or perhaps benign, meaning they don't cause any trouble. And it's so much better to know ahead of taking any kind of action. Also, consider hand-picking insects off of plants that are being damaged. It's so much better to do that rather than using a chemical because you want what you're growing to be safe to eat. Do weeds drive you crazy in your garden? Well, don't grab the chemicals, don't use the pre-emergents. I shot a video last summer that has all kinds of strategies for dealing with weeds and keeping them away. So I will include a link to it in this video, and you can also find it on my YouTube channel, and there will be a link to that at the end of this video as well. Last week I talked about crop rotation in both my video and my column. So if you missed it, be sure to go to susansinthegarden.com and you'll find both, because crop rotation is such an important tool. It's very simple and it's a great way to minimize or thwart insect and disease problems in your garden. I hope you found these tips helpful. You know, organic gardening is not complicated and it's not expensive. You and I have the opportunity to make a huge difference in the environment around us, and it's so important that we spread the word with our gardening friends. I'll see you in a week.